The Casagrandes Movie. This film is about Ronnie Ann turning 12 years old, wanting to have a summer full of fun with her friend Sid, and ultimately being surprised when her mother tells her that they're going to Mexico for the entire summer. This entire conflict for Ronnie Ann, I guess I won't get to first. Where, like, she wants to do her own thing. She wants to be, and I think this was kind of established inside the trailer a little bit too. She wants to do her own thing. She thinks she's old enough to make her own decisions, stuff like that. And she just wants time to herself to do things because she feels like her mother is like controlling her and like forcing her to do all these things on this trip. And I gotta say, immediately, right off the bat, Lincoln's little conflict in the first film, I'm gonna refer to the Loud House movie as the first film. I know this is technically not a sequel, but I just find that it's a little bit easier to say the first movie than the Loud House movie, you know what I mean? Because that's really what it was. It was the first movie of this, franchise of shows, technically. As I was saying, the Lincoln one, the one where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm being overshadowed by my sisters, blah, 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 blah. We already kind of established the resolution of that issue from that movie in the Loud House, the series. However, here, this is completely different. Yes, it's cliche, but I think it fits Ronnie more as a character. I think it fits her so much more. Lincoln is way too confident to have that sort of conflict. This works for Ronnie. I love this. This works for her. Honestly, this feels a lot more focused too than the Loud House movie was. You had a flashback which was kind of interesting. At the very beginning of the movie, there's like an 800 years ago flashback. Spoilers. There's an 800 years ago flashback. It was a little weird because I think the demigod said stuff like, she said swag at one point. It kind of took me out of it, just a little bit. But honestly, it wasn't terrible. I'm okay with it. I've just kind of learned to shrug my shoulders at those types of things because it's obvious that, they're just trying to make jokes. But even then, I mean, you could also argue that it's only 8 minutes of the movie. Like, throughout the first 8 minutes of this film, we don't see Ronnie for the first, 8 minutes. But what this movie did and what it succeeded at was introducing the main conflict, the main part of the story, which is the curse, which is all this other stuff and all the supernatural elements, basically. Which is something the first film didn't do. The Loud House movie just kind of... It started, I think, with Lincoln and Lily, and it set up the ending where Lily, I think, was the one to, ultimately, do things and help Lincoln or whatever. Which is all well and good, it set up that part, but it wasn't, a main story beat. It wasn't something that was, a main plot thread handling all of this together. This is a main plot thread. This is something that we have to know. This is something that needs to be established. And it was established, which is a positive. I think that's a really, really big positive. Morag was just kind of this person who we knew from the Loud House movie, and it was just kind of just like this thing of like, oh, maybe she's jealous. Oh no, she's a villain, I guess. Also, amazingly, I'm so happy that they did this. This isn't a musical, and I think that is serving this movie very, very well. If this was a musical, I feel like it would be broken up too much. I think one of my complaints in the Loud House movie was the fact that the songs, for me at least, felt like they were kind of just moving the plot forward, and that's all that was really happening with them. Like, you had the beginning montage of the movie, and it was like a song, and it's like, okay, cool, we have this song here because it's a montage. Or the villain, because I think her song is basically pretty much everything, it's exposition and pretty much everything that she's gonna do, blah blah blah, whatever. But here you don't get any of that, which is great. But everything in the Loud House movie felt kind of stitched together. Like there was 3 different plots going on. Almost as if like, oh, they had all these ideas and they just kind of threw them in random places. And we're just kind of like, we could make a movie out of that. I think. Full disclosure, I actually thought the Loud House movie was good. I thought it was fine. But as I was watching this, that kind of came to mind and I just wanted to mention it here. Basically, the point is, this is focused. There's a few plots that are here, that are happening. There's one where, like, Bobby has this, like, paper thing of his father, and, like, he's taking him around, and, like, it's one of those things that's on the sideline, but it does come into play later. And I should also go and mention, too, this movie was really funny at times. Like, I really enjoyed this movie in terms of its humor. They had a joke at the very beginning of this thing. And like she opens, like the demigod opens up like a portal, like a door. I think it was established to be like a door. I want to say it was established to be a door. And the first thing she opens it up to is SpongeBob. You see like SpongeBob's pineapple with Squidward's house next to it. And she... Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like one of those bits where she's like, you know, looking through and like scrolling through different things, and it's just like, nope, to it. And then another one flashes in, and it's Rocco's Modern Life, like Rocco's house from Rocco's Modern Life. Too modern, you know? Which was good. I liked it. It was funny. It was over in like a few seconds, but it was funny. It was a nice little fourth wall break joke. And speaking of fourth wall break jokes, there is an absolutely incredible one, which I unfortunately was kind of spoiled just a little bit on. Just a little bit. I saw the quote, I didn't see who did the quote or whatever, and I just kind of assumed that it was maybe like not a part of the movie. Okay, it won't come into it. Because it just didn't seem like something that this movie would do. But of all people, it is Carl who says it. You know how I mentioned, like, Bobby had a little plot? Oh, Carl and CJ also had a little plot in this movie, too. Just a little bit. It's one of those, like, side plots that's just kind of there in the movie, just to get brought up later. It's brought up at the very beginning, like, quarter of the way through the movie. And then at the very end, it finally gets its resolution. And it's hilarious because I literally was talking like, oh, this is whenever it's going to be resolved. I'm telling you, this is it. This is when it's going to be resolved. Only for Carl to literally say, we've been waiting for this the whole movie. which, yes, is like... I'm not even gonna like argue with it or like critique it because it's funny, man. I like it. It was good. I liked it. What matters is it was funny. Really, really funny. It had me laughing for a while. I had to pause it. It was funny. I loved it. I thought it was so good. Also, the visuals. I have to talk about the visuals. The visuals have improved so much from the Loud House movie. Oh my god. There's a lot more fighting in this movie. There's a lot more, like, magic and, you know, fights being done. And, man, the animation looks really good. Like, surprisingly really good. I said it for the Loud House movie, and I'm gonna say it again. This was not cheap. I know I'm jumping around. I'm just going off of a few bullet points I made throughout watching this entire film. There was also some really decent, like, gut punches a bit in this movie. Just a little. Just a handful of little tiny gut punches that were like, oh shit. Ronnie's mother telling Ronnie that she should start acting more her age. Even the part with the demigod who was, like, established to be, like... similar to Ronnie. They kind of bond a little bit. You can kind of tell there's like a little bit of a connection there because they both kind of see the same exact thing. Of course, I'm sure people will say convenient, blah, 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 whatever. I personally think it works in this movie's favor because I really like what they did with it. Leading up to the midpoint of the film, after she meets Ronnie or whatever, after being freed, because we saw it from the trailer, she got freed from the mountain or whatever. She lies to Ronnie. She straight up is like acting like she's nice and, a friend, and really just kind of uses Ronnie to get this mask, Majora's Mask style, to return to being a god. And Ronnie was like, you betrayed me, you lied to me. And then she just tells her, it's something you would have done. I was like, oh, shit. And unlike Morag from the first film, like I said, she wasn't really established as a character in the first film. We just kind of were like, oh, they're gonna be a royal family, stuff like that. This has some weight because we saw the flashback, we see the little bit of it leading up to whatever's going on, and there's even a twist before the main climax that turns this entire thing on its head. So it holds weight. There's a little bit more of weight being held here with this character and with this little interaction. And I really enjoyed that. I really thought it was really well done. But there is some weirdness. Just a little bit of weirdness. Of course, obviously, everyone's going to talk about the big elephant in the room of the supernatural stuff. And honestly, as I watched this film, I kind of realized that, like, a lot of the stuff, like the chanclas, like being these, like, magical, powerful things, we're kind of into that being that in the Casagrandes. There was an episode, Chancla Force, which, albeit it was a dream, but they did kind of have this, like, kind of thing of, like, chanclas are more powerful than they seem kind of thing. I'm sure a lot of people will critique this anyways, regardless, because that's just what you do on the internet with this show and with the Casagrandes and with the Loud House too. But it's better than the Loud family being descendants of Scottish royalty without any mention of that in the show. I'm just saying, But other things like her doing like this disco thing, and it was like she started playing 12 is Midnight. And like DJing. Yep, she's from 800 years ago. We promise. We swear. But I like the part where her and Ronnie team up after Ronnie tells her what's actually happening and what's going on, because it's revealed that her parents basically ground her into the mountain to protect her because she unknowingly was releasing some type of beast from the underworld. And they have a fight with it, and like Ronnie is there too, and it's a little ridiculous, yeah, because it's like Casagrandes movie, and you see like this shit happening. But honestly, the movie for the first 8 minutes set this up. It wasn't like the Loud House movie where it just kind of all of a sudden turned into it. Like, whoa, where is this gonna go? What's going on? Wait, she's gonna kill Lincoln? You're kind of more eased into it, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it. All in all, I really enjoyed this film. There was a few things that bothered me. I already said about the whole 12 is Midnight DJing stuff, but that's more nitpicky, I feel. And it didn't bother me that much, enough to where I would say, like, oh my god, this movie is terrible. It felt more focused in the Loud House movie. I definitely felt like the conflict between Ronnie was good, and I thought it was awesome how it kind of matched the demigods as well. Predictably, yes, but still, it worked. The visuals were good, the jokes were funny. The pacing of this film was also just much better than the Loud House movie, I felt like. The Loud House movie had these, like, weird moments of, like, it felt more fan servicey, more so than an actual movie about the show it was actually based off of. Like the Loud Castle theme song, for example. And of course, the obvious fact of them all being Scottish royalty. However, this one, it actually felt like they kind of wanted to make a story. Whereas the Loud House movie was just kind of like, here's a bunch of things that we're just going to throw out the wall because we just don't really know what to do with this movie anymore. I would say that my theory from the trailer review video definitely was probably what happened. I definitely think that all hands were put on this film from both the writers of the Loud House and the Casagrandes. And in my opinion, it pays off. This is far better than the Loud House movie. I'm not really good with number ratings, but maybe if I were to give it a number rating, it would be somewhere around an 8, maybe a 9. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. There are still the supernatural elements, which are an obvious thing that you just kind of have to get used to. But I think I said in my trailer review video as well, the Casagrandes has always had that supernatural element inside of it. So it's not necessarily as bad as the Loud House movie was, for sure. Or I guess a better word would be like surprising, I guess, is probably the best word to describe it. It doesn't feel as surprising as the Loud House movie. Whew. Okay, I think I said it. I think I've said everything I really need to say. I was not expecting this film to even be... I thought it was just going to be kind of like, oh yeah, it's just a Loud House movie again, you know? But no, this film really... It surprised me, man. I really enjoyed this. Do I think it's going to win any awards? No, probably not. I definitely think the big City Greens movie that's going to be coming out later on this summer is going to be so much better. At least I hope, fingers crossed. But I guess we'll get there when we get there. And guys, I want to see you guys soon in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed me, so leave a like, comment, subscribe, awesome. Oh my god, I keep on messing up that outro. It gets worse and worse every single time. Anyways, guys, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everybody.